In 2016, after almost 5 years of planning, Holy Cross Catholic Church in Kaukauna was renovated, which was to be the largest renovation since the entrance was expanded in 2001. The 2016 renovation was designed and overseen by Father Tom Pomeroy, who was the pastor at that time, and he placed special meanings throughout all elements of the church's design. I will be referring to the different parts of the church using their traditional names. Starting at the front of the church, there is the apse, which is the half-dome shaped part of the church. Below the apse is the sanctuary, where the altar and the tabernacle are placed. The sanctuary and the apse were the areas that were given the most detail and focus during the renovation. The large area in the center of the church, where the people sit, is called the nave, and the two areas on the sides of the church are called the transepts. The entrance and gathering space at the back of the church is called the narthex. Why do we need art? Couldn't we just have plain walls and undecorated ceilings? Yes, we could, but we wouldn't be able to convey such deep and beautiful things, such as salvation or God's love for us. We could try to explain it in words, but how can we clearly translate it across many cultures? Art is universal. Its message reaches out to all who see it, and it causes us to ask ourselves what God is telling us through these images. Art is a story written in shapes and colors. When art is done in a beautiful way, it can lead us to a greater desire to know God and to share in His love. Starting in the back of the church, in the narthex, there is a large stained glass window, and at the center sits Saint Cecilia, who is the patron saint of music. This window used to be up in the back of the choir loft before the entrance was added to the church, but was moved to the back in 2001. Near the front doors there are stained glass windows of the symbols for Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who were the writers of the 4 Gospels. Above the 3 sets of doors to the church there are stained glass windows of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Holy Cross, and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. As you enter the church, you will notice 12 stained glass windows, 6 on each side, with the joyful mysteries on the left side, and the glorious mysteries on the right side. The 2 large windows above the transepts are the crucifixion of Jesus on the left, and the resurrection of Jesus on the right. I will be focusing on the left-hand side transept because the right-hand side is primarily just an entrance. The left side transept houses the baptismal font and the oils of the sacraments, and has the same white floor as the sanctuary to designate the areas in which the sacraments are performed. In the church you can find sets of 3 arches above each entrance, above the sanctuary and above both transepts. This design, called the triumphal arch, is of Roman origins. They used these arches to represent a victory or to commemorate an important event, and the Romans would pass through the arches to celebrate these events. On each side of the sanctuary there are statues of Mary and Joseph, and in the center above the tabernacle are stained glass windows of the sorrowful mysteries, but they are placed out of order so that the cross is centered. The 2 other windows in the sanctuary show the whip and pillar, the crown of thorns, and a chalice, and on the other window it shows the cloth Veronica used to wipe Jesus' face. The tools of carpentry, and the hyssop branch and spear are placed together. Lastly, we have the apse. It is the most detailed area of the church, and has a large amount of meanings placed behind each of its features. Starting off with the primary arch, we see the words, To the victor I will give the right to eat of the tree of life that is in the garden of God. This passage is from Revelation chapter 2, verse 7. The victor is referring to any person who wins the battle against sin and rejects Satan's temptations during our earthly life. The garden of God is referring to the Garden of Eden, which is the heavenly paradise. The tree of life is referring to Jesus' cross, which leads us to the center panel in the dome. The apse is painted to appear as a garden, which is symbolic of the Garden of Eden, with the cross in the center providing water for all the plants and animals. At the base of the cross are 2 deer. This is inspired by Psalm 42. As the deer longs for streams of water, so my soul longs for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. Coming off of the cross are branches, which comes from John chapter 15, verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit, because without me you can do nothing. In the center of the cross is Jesus' face, and above the cross is the hand of the Father, and the Holy Spirit represented by a dove. On the panel surrounding the center panel are 6 angels, each holding one of the 6 names for the cross. Cuore peruncit, the blood-anointed tree. Lignum dulce, the sweet or gentle wood. Arbor noblis, the noble tree. Arbor digna, the worthy or dignified tree. Crux fidelis, the faithful cross. Arbor alta, the tall tree. There are 12 sheep in the apse to signify the 12 tribes of Israel, and in the top of the dome is a starscape, which has been painted to represent the positions of the stars in Kaukauna on the day of the resurrection.